Well, there's always history to someone's embodiment, right? Like at some point, what they were doing worked for them. So, you know, when I look at a body, I'm looking at history. I'm looking at how that person's learned to get love and safety and belonging and learn to stay safe. And that might be shaping themselves in a particular way. Like, you know, fuck you, I'm Mark Walsh. Or it might be, you know, that's one of my favorites. Or it might be, or it might be, it might be like really nice and sort of making oneself very amenable.
Yes.
Both of which could cause problems.
Sure.
Right? Too much no,
Sure.
too much yes. Just as a very simple polarity.
Yeah.
So we form ourselves around our life situations to do the best we can. And, you know, a therapist can go into that, and that's great. You know, personally, I don't with clients. I just sort of say, well, you know, I get that it comes from somewhere, and, you know, that was the best you could do at the time. Now, do you want to see what else is possible? And you always keep your, you know, people don't just remove their embodied tendencies. You know, with disembodiment, you know, the good news, I guess, is that no one's completely disembodied. You know, I mean, if I gave you a kick right now, no matter how disembodied you are, you'd feel it, right?
Yeah, I'd probably kick you back, yeah.
Yeah. And that's an embodied tendency, whether you kick back or whether you'd run away, right? Fight or flight. So that tendency is in the body.
Yes.
So it's, no one's completely disembodied, but sadly it is totally common in the world today that, you know, just feeling London, being outside in London is just fucking hell, it's a bit much, you know, so I could see why you wouldn't want to feel that, as you know, and also, you know, walking by a homeless guy in Brighton or turning on the TV and seeing the latest, you know, atrocities, corporate-sponsored war, you know, it's, that's painful.
Sure.
And so I get why people might not want to do that. That's where I think, you know, care comes in. Consent is massive in terms of how you do this with people. Also, helping people self-regulate. So the centering techniques, for example, like deep belly breathing, or, you know, people call them grounding or whatever. Learning those early in a training is pretty important for me.
Yes.
Because that way, if someone does have something start to come up, then it's, you know, they're able to self-regulate and self-manage.
Yes.
So the body stops being overwhelming, and the building that muscle of being able to stay present and choose to regulate.
Yes.
It doesn't mean becoming a robot. You know, if people do lots of martial arts, sometimes they become very kind of like very centered, but not very expressive.
Kind of rigidly centered.
Yeah. And there's not much flow there,
Yes.
because it's kind of a way of controlling themselves. This is why I think you need multiple embodied practices as you develop.
Yeah.
Like the martial artists are kind of really centered and together, usually. And like, say, the dancers, like and the fire rhythms people, they're really expressive and emotional, but they're not necessarily that good at like turning up on time or having boundaries or having their shit together. We're going to get complaints from all the dancers. And I love dancing and I love martial arts, right? Yeah. But they're different practices that build different things. I get it. So if I'm working with a client long term, I can't just say, oh, you should do yoga. I mean, even that, it's like, what kind of yoga? How are you going to do it? What's the teacher like? You know, you can do yoga in all of the 4 elements, for example, to stay with that model. But different practices suit different people and what they need as they develop, and sometimes practices are just for the joy of it. You know, like I lift weights, and it's not because I need to develop the part of my character of that. It's just for the joy of full expression. Right. And then there's other things that I do are much more challenging for me, that, you know, slowing down and softening. And, you know, those are more for my kind of building my range, building my development.
Yes.